Kong.
Here.
Commissioner Leffel.
Here.
Commissioner Oglesby.
Here.
Commissioner Velasquez. Vice Chair Craig.
Here.
And Chair Gorley.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. General public comments. Anyone may address the commission briefly for items not already on the agenda. Anyone from the public? Anybody on Zoom?
Chair, no hands are raised on Zoom.
Okay, we'll bring it back to special business. Resolution of appreciation, Juan Poitras. Pete, are you? I just saw you. There he is. Oh, I'm going to come up there.
Did you see? Thank you. Oh, look at this.
Look at this. Or do we need to? Okay, we're good. Okay. With Pete's time served here, many, many years, I'm going to read all the whereases.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for thanking you for your work on the budget committee and all the special committees that you worked on and your length of time and reading that packet backwards and forwards and asking all the right questions during all the meetings and putting in your time at LAFCO was greatly appreciated. Whereas Commissioner Pete Poitras served with distinction as a special district member to the Local Agency Information Commission from August of 2012 to August of 2016, and from August of 2016 to February of 2024, respectively, working to encourage the orderly growth of local government agencies, to preserve agricultural lands, to discourage urban sprawl, and to ensure efficient delivery of local government services. And whereas the Commission expresses its sincere gratitude and appreciation to Commissioner Pete Poitras for his significant contributions to the goals and ideals of the Commission in the consideration of annexation and sphere of influence applications, municipal service reviews, policies, procedures, work programs, and budgets. And whereas the Commission also desires to publicly recognize Commissioner Pete Poitras for his contributions to the Monterey County Regional Fire District, former Carmel Valley Fire Protection District, Special Districts Associations of Monterey County Countywide Consolidated Oversight Board, his devotion to other community causes, and to the law enforcement as an investigator for over 40 years. Now, therefore, the Commission hereby expresses its sincere gratitude and appreciation to Commissioner Pete Poitras for his dedicated service to the Local Agency Information Commission of Monterey County, to his community and the people of Monterey County, and wishes him and his family continued health and happiness in the future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
You have a few words?
I do. Thank you. And I will say this, I have not had this view of this body in about 14 years. I just have something quick to read. As my fellow commissioners are aware, my fourth term as president of the board of directors of the Monterey County Regional Fire District came to an end effective March 1st, 2024. It was with decidedly mixed feelings and under circumstances beyond my control that I made the decision to retire and not seek another 4-year term with the fire district. This, of course, meant I would no longer be eligible to continue serving as a special district representative with LAFCO, Monterey County. I did not take this decision lightly, having greatly enjoyed serving as a LAFCO commissioner these past 14 years, including one as its chair. I continue to have the greatest respect for the chair, the individual commissioners, its executive director, and every member of the staff of this exemplary organization. I will miss being associated with such a remarkable team of professionals. One observation I have made, and I have made a few during my time serving with this august body, and that is the importance of having someone from the fire service serving as a LAFCO commissioner. The fire service needs a seat at the table. Those whose job it is to ensure the health and safety of the citizens they are sworn to protect need representation on LAFCO. Wildfire has the potential to devastate the lives and property of all citizens of our county. The numerous fire districts in Monterey County should have a representative serving on the LAFCO Commission. Speaking personally, I was honored to have been able to serve on the commission for so many years, and I am truly grateful to have had the opportunity to represent special districts as a LAFCO commissioner. I bid you all adieu. Thank you. And thanks for this.
May I?
Sure.
Pete, I just want to say it was an honor to serve with you, and I came on and you were the special districts person who was my mentor for special districts. But I think more importantly that you really looked after the good of the entire county and all the citizens, and not just special districts. And for that, I thank you, and I think everyone thanks you. I don't know anybody that read the package more thoroughly, personally, than probably you did, and I think we all owe you that also. So thank you, it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure you beat me in reading every word.
Well, I can't help myself.
Thank you all.
Commissioner Kong, did you have something you want to say?
Oh, I just wanted to thank Commissioner Porteous for his many years of service, and hopefully, I don't think I'm going to make anything close to 14 years, but you showed me during my time with you that how to be professional on this board. Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge, as days, weeks, years go on, 14 years of community service is asking a lot of anybody. And so I just want to say thank you, particularly at a time where we've tackled some really big issues here with LAFCO. It takes strength and courage to make hard decisions, and you've done a great job at that. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll just say something, Pete, if I could say Pete right now. But Commissioner, I want to associate myself with all the comments before and just say I watched you and I watched your leadership and your role model, and I took that to heart myself. And like Mary Ann said, you showed us how to do this job, and I appreciate you being here and giving us 14 years of great service. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
right.
Any other commissioners? None? Okay, thank you, Warren. Okay, I'll make a motion that we have.
Dinner. I'll be home for dinner.
First time in a while. I'll make a motion for a resolution of appreciation.
Second.
It's been seconded by Mayor Craig. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Being opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to our consent agenda. Anybody have any items to pull from our consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to pull number 8.
Let's go ahead and answer that if possible. Go ahead.
It's just for our fellow commissioners that don't serve on budget and finance. We went over this with staff, and I think that we all realized it's very, very ambitious, and that we want to thank the staff for carrying on with this, because we do know that it's going to take a lot of work. So just all of you be aware. We also went into it knowing that it may not all be completed within this time frame, but we want to put everything out there. Staff made a very good argument to have everything on there so that we can proceed on there and let the community know that we will be doing these things, if not sooner, a little bit later, but depending on what else comes in. It's ambitious, and we thank the staff for taking it on.
Yeah, along with the MSRs.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of work there.
yeah. And with that, I would approve the consent agenda.
It's been seconded by Mayor Oglesby. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed, being none? Motion carries. Thank you. New business, consider authorizing a comment letter for the draft environmental impact report proposed Vista Lucia project. Recommended action. Kate, do you want to take it from here?
Yes, thank you, Chair, members of the commission. Jonathan Brinkman, our senior analyst, will provide a staff report for this item.
Chair Gorley and Commissioners, I'm just turning on the PowerPoint for this. Good afternoon, and as is LAFCO's normal practice, we're presenting a comment letter on a proposed project's draft EIR for the Commission's consideration today. The proposed project is the City of Gonzalez's Vista Lucia project. And due to the deadline for providing comments, LAFCO staff provided comments to the city in draft form before the March 18th deadline, and informed the city that LAFCO's draft comments are subject to commission review and authorization. So that's just a opening for this item today. And then wanted to show you on this next slide the site. It's located on the northeast side of this, northeast of the city limits. I'm sorry, it's not advancing to the next slide. There we go. And so this is showing the existing city limits and the sphere of influence that LAFCO has previously approved for the city of Gonzalez. The project site is shown in red on this map, and it's on the northeast, to the northeast of the existing city limits and east of Highway 101. It is entirely within the LAFCO approved sphere of influence, and the proposed development is comprised mostly, almost entirely of designated farmlands that are in active production. And just to give you a little more context on the proposed project, it is 768 acres that would be added to the city limits. That's a 67% increase in the city's inhabited area. It proposes 3,498 dwelling units, and that would be approximately a population of 15,400 residents that would be added to the city. So just in summary, it's a large-scale city expansion, and LAFCO's comments on the draft EIR are provided on the environmental aspects of the draft EIR, areas where LAFCO has purview. So our focus has been on the impacts and mitigation for agricultural lands. With the recent adoption of our implementation guidelines for agricultural lands on February 26th, now's the appropriate time for us to comment in that, using that new policy and in that context. Other comments in our comment letter include comments on transportation, fire protection, police protection, water facilities. This is part of LAFCO's role, making sure there's feasibility of providing public services. And just for future reference, for context, when this is not a stage where LAFCO is reviewing the project, it's just a draft EIR. But when it comes to that stage in the future, LAFCO will look at policy conformance requirements. That includes LAFCO's legislative purposes. In context of the scale of the project, it's a balance, looking at the balance between development and LAFCO's state legislative purposes of discouraging urban sprawl, preserving open space and prime ag lands, and efficiently extending government services. We also have, at that stage, we would look at conformance with LAFCO's local policies and also the state mandated considerations in the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, including the plan for services and looking at the A through Q considerations that is part of our review. So that's just a quick overview of the item today. And the recommendation for the commission is to authorize the comment letter, and staff's available for any questions. So back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the dais before I open up for public comment? Okay, I'll open up for public comment. Do we have anybody on Zoom? Okay. Bring it back to the dais.
There are no hands are raised on Zoom.
Okay. Bring it back to the dais at this time. Close public comment. We all took a look at the sphere when the sphere came before us 2 years ago at this point, I think. More than 2 years ago. And the consideration of such a large sphere of influence increase for the city of Gonzales was so that several of the developers could take a bigger look at the picture, to put the proper infrastructure in place and the need for housing and get this ball moving. But we had a full consensus of the board at the time when we approved the sphere. But I agree with Kate that they need to go back and take a look at what we've just went over with our ag land mitigation policies, and bring that back before the board. So I think the letter's in place. Do we have any other comments? Yeah, Wendy?
A question about, have we heard from Gonzales since sending the letter?
As far as I know, we have not heard. We sent the letter about 10 days ago.
Okay.
Unless staff, do you have any update on that?
The only communication has been to confirm that the letter's draft pending commission authorization, just to clarify that part of the letter.
Okay. Thank you.
Mary Ann?
I have a couple of questions, and one of them has to do page 60. The, under 3.4, plan consistency. So it says, let me read this, include a comprehensive financing plan which provides financial feasibility for various public services, blah, blah, blah. Financing plan should identify the facilities, the infrastructure, the equipment, and staffing needed to provide public services to the proposed project, along with accurate costs associated with these services, and see how they will be funded. This is probably a 20-year build-out at best, depending on how they hit cycles in the market and how they sell everything that goes on. I'm just wondering, how does anybody do a swag on what kind of staffing they're going to need and everything that they're going to need on things like firehouses and infrastructure? Because it just seems to me that's so, I don't know, it's so out there. Also, are we saying that if they have to have a comprehensive financing plan, does that include where they're going to get the money? Or are we just saying, give us your best guess over a 20-year period of everything you're going to need and what it's going to cost? I'm asking for my own edification. Usually, the airport, we do 3 to 5 year planning, and we know pretty well from FAA, what kind of money we're going to get and how much something's going to cost over a 3 to 5 year period. Over 20, I'm just not sure how you do it.
So just to answer your question, so one of the reasons we ask for the comprehensive financing plan is because in the state law for LAFCO, it talks about a plan for services, and part of that plan for services is to include the financing of the services. So by asking for a comprehensive financing plan, it gives the opportunity for the city to explain for the various facilities such as fire, are they collecting development impact fees that will provide enough funding for that future fire station, for example, or a police substation for the infrastructure that's involved that the city will have to build to provide those services to the area. So it is just part of our role to ask for the financing, the plan for services to also include information about financing. So LAFCO review can look at that in terms of feasibility for providing the services.
Probably didn't get you your answer, did it?
Well, I mean, it's very complex, and I'm just not sure how you do a 20-year, what something's going to cost and how you're going to finance it. I guess what I'm hearing you saying is all housing will bear the brunt of it, all development will, because they'll have to figure out if it costs, I'm going to make up a number, 20 million, and you're doing 200 houses, you're going to take 20 million and divide that by 200, and you're going to put those on those houses for impact fee. Is that what I'm hearing? Because you won't know that there's state funding or federal funding or anything else, so it's going to have to be borne by the development, I think is what I'm hearing.
Yes, so what we're asking for the city is to show us, what is that plan to come up with the funding based, to have the estimates for the cost of these facilities, show us what those best estimates are. Show us their plan, which may include more than just development impact fees, but also include other types of revenue sources the city could obtain in order to build these facilities. But it's asking them to provide that to us for our review.
Okay, so along that line, Jonathan, on page 59, in the bottom, in that last paragraph, it says, describe the level and range of those services and describe when and how those services will be provided and funded. I don't know, I guess we'll see what they come up with. I don't know. I have no idea, Kate. How does somebody figure this out for a 20-year period and give us something that is accurate that we could vote on?
Commissioner Leffel, members of the commission, we do have a good example. It actually goes back probably 15 or more years, but it's with the city of Salinas when there was a very large annexation proposed and approved by our commission. And in that case, there were a number of infrastructure studies done and financing plans that were put together and presented as part of the application package to LAFCO. So that is a model going forward. Yeah. Yeah.
Ian, go ahead.
I guess that's my concern. I mean, to say that today they will figure out how they're going to do all this, making the numbers work 20 years from now for their last phase from year 20 to 25, it's hard for me to imagine that they can come up with the numbers and then we can verify it. Yeah, I'm sure that someone could plan the numbers out and make it look good, right? And we say they did plan it for 25 years, but for us to assume all the rate changes and equity and everything else that everybody has to put together is going to be viable numbers for year 23, 24, 25, I don't know. But what I guess I'm getting to now is that's a lot of work for them to do, to make the numbers look right, to make the numbers legitimate. And I guess if we're willing to do the same on our part to meet them, to review those numbers, then if that's the only way, then that's okay. My second point is I thought we just adopted rules that said these things can be done in phases. And so if we're allowing them to do in phases, why would we ask them to do the last phase at the same time they're doing the first phase, right? If they're allowed to take down 25%, then why would we ask them to plan and cost out, 100%? And again, back to the last, 20 years from now, right? For us to, I just asked the commission to think about that, and then however it gets back to us, then I'm open to talk about how this commission, again, pushes it forward, not hold it up because of these rules that we think are appropriate right now, because I think when they come up against it, the city should be able to tell us that if we make them plan for 25 years, I'm sure they can come up with something. but I'm looking at something more realistic, and I thought that's why we passed that you could take it down in tranches and phases and at least 25%. So I just throw that out for the commission.
Okay. Any other comments? Go ahead, Wendy.
Conversation. So to the mayor's point about the taking it down in phases, I think that was just for the ag mitigation portion. It's not for the approval of a request. So that's my understanding. And my understanding of this is specific to the EIR and not even to an application. So our comments are on the application that's going forward. So our comments are on the EIR, not on an application back to LAFCO. So that makes sense to me that we would comment on that. And in terms of a financing plan, I mean, you talk about 20 years for a development to build out. We're still working on getting East Garrison done, and that was what put into motion 25 years ago, and that's a fraction of what this would be considered. But having been in the middle of that project rollout and trying to get it done, I can say that I really appreciate that there was some thought put into what financing would look like for facilities. We have a plan that we're following in terms of how we're funding libraries and water, wastewater management, parks, streets. There's a plan that made sense. That didn't leave the county in a position where we were financing a new development at a loss. And in order for LAFCO to do our duty, which I understand is to be the orderly development of communities, we do have a responsibility to make sure that there's thought that's gone into, at least on a rough scale, right? East Garrison is not rolling out the way that we had anticipated it fully, where there are changes to the specific plan. It's a process, right? But at least we're starting with, there was some thought put into financially, how does this work and does this make sense? So I think it would be fully within our responsibility as LAFCO to comment on the fact that this information is missing from, even if it's not to a level of detail, there has to be some conceptual financing plan that's laid out that shows that this is a financially viable proposition that doesn't leave the county without fire service or library or roads, things like that. I think it's appropriate that we would be commenting with these questions.
Thank you, Wendy. Any other commissioners? Okay, do we have
I mean, we're authorizing this letter to be sent, correct? So I'm just trying to work through so I understand before I say I'm good with it. The last thing, I guess, is on the last page, on page 62. So it goes back to the need to construct and operate new public facilities, and it reiterates all of the facilities that were there before. But in the as required paragraph, the second paragraph there, it says they should be designed to ensure the capacity is planned, built, and operational prior to implementation of the project's development phase. So when the city's existing service capacity limit will be reached. So we're going to ask the city, I guess, can they do, I'm making up a number, 200 houses and not go over their capacity, but then we might require these facilities in the second phase when the city is over its capacity. Is that how I'm reading this? So I'm just trying to understand it because we haven't approved any letters. This is the first one that we've seen, and I want to make sure it reflects what we believe also. So trying to understand the whole thing. And I totally respect Commissioner Askew's point on that. I also think that we have to be really cognizant of the fact that a lot of things change over the time. And when I read what the people in East Garrison are up in arms about with their community facilities district fees, I go, whoa, I don't know if anybody anticipated that those fees would go so high and those people would be picketing on that topic. So, it's how do we ensure that things get paid for, that it doesn't become such a burden on future residents? So hearing that, I mean, are we okay with the letter? And I guess one more question I have is, if we say we want all of that, how much does it cost us to get a professional to analyze all of that?
Commissioner LaFleur, members of the commission, I believe that ballpark information, threshold information, conceptual infrastructure and financing information can be reviewed by your in-house staff, and that we are not anticipating that we would need to retain outside economic analyst services. We're also well aware, as you are, that eventually these land uses could change, and they could change a lot, and that LAFCO really has no control over land use matters. And so the concepts, the conceptual land uses that will be presented in a future annexation application, they can change dramatically, which would change all of the cost estimates, the infrastructure information. So more or less, our commission needs to review a moment in time, what the plan is of the city. Does the city want to have a phased annexation? So all of those questions are remaining to be worked out this year before we even receive the application.
Okay, any other comments? Commissioner Oglesby?
No, thank you for that, Director. You know, I think that's what I was going towards. It's, you know, these numbers are fungible. I guess that, you're right, that's what you just said. They can be phased in, land use can change. It was just when it was presented to us, it was like the numbers would be locked in for the next 25 years. How do you get there? So I take your comments to heart, and thank you so much.
Okay, board action. Do you have anybody from the board?
Go out to the public.
Sure. Any public comment?
Chair, no hands are raised on Zoom.
Okay.
I would move approval as long as we just put in there that we are understanding that this is a long-term project.
We'll note that, Commissioner, when we notify the city that the commission has authorized the comment letter. Thank you.
Your comments about the 25 years is, I think, a little bit generous. I think it's going to be.
So I
We looked at this general plan expansion or the sphere, we were thinking 50 at that time, and just for them to get through that process. We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Okay. Supervisor asks you with a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Conduct a public hearing to consider a proposed annual budget for fiscal year 2024-25. Receive a report from the executive officer.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. This report is agenda item number 11 in your package. It has been reviewed and recommended for approval by our Budget and Finance Committee. The report today will be provided by Darren McBain, our principal analyst. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you. Adoption of an annual work program to accompany the budget for the upcoming fiscal year is a routine action for this time of year. The work program itself is also fairly standard this year with no major changes or deviations from recent years. We do have relatively few annexations or other boundary changes on file or anticipated to be coming in the door very soon, and therefore staff anticipates using this upcoming fiscal year to update as many of our municipal service reviews as possible for various public agencies, as shown on page 69 in your meeting packet, And also, we do plan to spend a lot of our time in this upcoming fiscal year reviewing and updating the Commission's locally adopted policies, or at least some amount of time this year. The work program is anticipated to be carried out completely by in-house staff. No changes to the current staffing level are currently proposed, but the staffing level is something that LAFCO should continue to monitor over the coming year and consider making adjustments if the current slowdown in boundary changes does appear to be more of a long-term shift. As Kate mentioned, the Budget and Finance Committee reviewed the work program as part of its quarterly meeting last month. The committee recommended some fairly minor refinements, mainly regarding MSR priorities and follow-up actions, and staff has integrated those into the version that you have before you today. The recommended action for the Commission today is to receive any public comments and discuss and approve the work program with any modifications that the Commission may wish to direct at this time. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Sure, we'll open this up for public comment. No public present. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
Chair, no hands are raised.
Okay, we'll move this back to the dais. Do we have a motion or an action?
I would move approval.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to conducting a public hearing to consider a proposed annual budget for fiscal year 24-25.
Thank you again, Chair. Members of the Commission, this is the first of two required public hearings for adoption of the annual budget for LAFCO of Monterey County. And again, this matter has been reviewed and is recommended for approval by the Budget and Finance Committee, and Darren will provide a brief report.
Well, thank you, Kate. This item is the LAFCO budget for the upcoming fiscal year beginning July 1st. The proposed budget is a net overall increase of 2.2% from the current fiscal year. Some of LAFCO's expenses have risen significantly in the last year. For example, costs related to healthcare premiums, coordination with legal counsel, and meeting broadcast services. However, staff has worked hard to proactively control costs and identify cost savings. Most significantly, the proposed budget includes higher employee healthcare contributions from all staff members, which would more than offset the cost increases. And the proposed budget also includes a modification to LAFCO's accounting services contract with Clifton Larson Allen. And that contract amendment will reduce costs by $1,000 per month by bringing some human resources, accounts payable, and administrative tasks back in-house starting July 1st. These and other measures have resulted in a modest 2.2% overall increase in a time of rising costs almost across the board. As with the work program, the Budget Committee reviewed the budget as part of the quarterly meeting last month, and as Kate mentioned, the committee recommended approval, including for the contract modification with CLA. In conclusion, the recommended action today from staff and the Budget Committee is to conduct a public hearing, approve the proposed budget, and direct staff to distribute the proposed budget to the County of Monterey, the 12 cities, and independent special districts for their review and comments. And lastly, to direct staff to agendize a second budget hearing as required by state law for the Commission to adopt a final budget on April 22nd. And with that, in conclusion, that's all I have for you, Mr. Chair, and I'll hand it back over to you.
Okay, we'll open this up for public comment since it's a public hearing. Anybody from the public wishing to comment?
No hands are raised, Chair.
Okay. Mary? Yeah, Commissioner Adams?
Thank you. I'm assuming that you're going to ask for questions or comments. Thank you. I just did want to make a couple of comments and also ask a couple of questions. First, I want to say that I'm really pleased to see the way that the staff under the leadership of the executive director have approached the healthcare costs. I can tell you that at the county, we constantly deal with how can we help cover the costs of healthcare, and to have the employees contribute to the cost of healthcare, I think is really good, and I'm very pleased to see that. I also wanted to ask how long it has been since there has been any kind of like a comprehensive, like a compensation study to ensure that the staff members are being paid at an appropriate level, gauged against the other organizations similar to ours.
Thank you for your question, Supervisor, Commissioner Adams. We did a study in 2022 that looked at our staff positions, clerk and analyst positions. And so, and I'm confident that we're still in the range of the local job market.
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And then my final question, I see that we've taken out the accounting services cost, and that's really terrific. And I am just wondering if we have any funding, or I assume that there has to be funding for the general counsel services. And I see that is like a 4% overall increase. And I was just curious how much of that is for legal services and how much just for regular sort of general expenses.
Thank you for that question. The line item pertaining to general counsel services is proposed budget is $20,000, and 100% of that is intended to support the regular commission meetings and regular and special commission meetings. Any litigation costs are of our general counsel or of outside counsel are handled through litigation reserve that LAFCO has. And by policy, that reserve is funded at approximately $300,000 per year. So that's not shown in the line item budget, but it is on the balance sheets.
Thank you. And then is that, do we still have 300 in it, or is there any carryover or anything to that extent?
Earlier this year, I believe it was at the Commission's January meeting, the Commission acted on a recommendation of the Budget and Finance Committee to replenish that reserve because it was down to about $100,000. And so the funds went out of our general savings. The fund, $200,000 was put back into that fund. So presently, it's about $290,000.
That's great. Good. Okay. Thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Anyone else? Mary Ann?
Well, I just want to thank the staff. When we did the budget last year, we asked that the staff really look long and hard at bringing some of the services that they were being provided by CLA, that they bring them into house and use the expertise that we have. We don't have that many transactions a month. We actually are a pretty small, clean little operation, thank God. So we ask that they really take a look at it, and I think that Supervisor Church would be very happy to know that this was accomplished. And Supervisors Lopez and Oglesby and I have watched this all year, and we were very, very, very pleased to see the staff bring back the $1,000 a month savings and bringing it in. And in the long run, I think it will make the staff much more efficient because they'll understand more what the day-to-day operations and how they impact, as opposed to waiting for someone to give you a piece of paper on a monthly basis. So anyway, I just really want to applaud Kate and the staff for listening and acting. So thank you.
Thank you.
that
And thank you for the guidance from our Budget and Finance Committee. We appreciate that.
So I would move approval of the budget.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for our first reading here, first hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, being none. Motion carries. Thank you. So we've got that agendized for our next meeting too. Great. Executive officers' comments? Or did I jump one? No, I'm right. Okay.
You're right on track there. Thank you. Page 80 of the agenda packet includes a brief update on three items. Your staff is overseeing currently an election process to fill the vacant special district representative seat on LAFCO. We are also assisting the County of Monterey in filling a special district seat on what's called a countywide consolidated oversight board relating to former redevelopment agency funds. And both of those elections were triggered by the departure of Mr. Poitras from the Regional Fire District Board and his departure from LAFCO. The third item that we've noted for your interest is a very interesting opportunity that the Spreckles Community Services District approached us with a couple of weeks ago. What they're doing is following up on a recommendation from our most recent municipal service review study. That district is facing a lot of costs to update and fix and maintain their stormwater drainage system. And they are interested in connecting that system as well as a privately owned sanitary sewer system and connecting both of those facilities to the Monterey One Water Regional Wastewater Treatment Facility in Marina. And that idea is one that Monterey One Water staff generally supported a few years ago. And just last week, the Board of Directors, since the time of writing this report, the Board of Directors of Spreckles Community Services District requested our LAFCO staff to please facilitate a meeting of Monterey One Water and the Spreckles District to begin a conversation about how that collaboration could happen. So we're excited that our study had something in there that is proving to be useful today, and I'll keep you posted on that. And that concludes our communications for today. Thank you.
Commissioner comments at this time? Any of the commissioners? Seeing none, I don't believe we have anything for closed session today, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. We have a motion for adjournment?
Excuse me.
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you. I do just have one quick comment on closed session. Under closed session, it indicates that I am the chair of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District Board, and I am no longer chair. That's an annual seat, and I am a member of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, but I'm not the chair.
Thank you. Okay, could somebody move for adjournment here?
So moved.
I will second that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll, just through the chair, I'm just hollering out because I guess the meeting is over. But you guys got me down here for
We'll amend our adjournment.
Thank you. You got me down for recusing because I'm a member. That's not why I recuse myself. I reserve the right to unaccuse myself. That's the first thing. I recuse myself because of the litigation, not because I'm a member. So let's just be clear.
And I'd like to second that comment for my own self. Thank you.
Yeah.
we'll work with both of you before our next agenda to get the wording correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll bring a piece of gum.
For the whole class.
Thank you.
Are we safe to adjourn?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.